So, we got to start making Zoom a little bit fun for all of us, right?
Well, accordion's kind of fun, that's for sure.
Always. All right. So my watch says 11:31. So I am multitasking here, letting people come into the meeting as we go. But thank you all for joining us today for our State of the Chamber address for 2022 is our year, right? I got that right, didn't I? So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jessica McCready. I'm the Executive Director of the Camano Chamber of Commerce, and excited to have all of you, excited about what we managed to do last year, and very excited about all of the things that the Chamber is going to provide and attempt to do in 2022. So I'm going to hand it over to Susan Fay, who is our president again this year, thankfully. Susan stepped in mid-year. What year was that? 2020, Susan?
Right after COVID started. So yeah, almost, the year, 2.5 years.
Right. So Jim Ayers was our president before, and he moved to California, and Susan really just took on the reins right before COVID, took on a lot more responsibility than any chamber president should, but she did it with grace, and I'm very thankful to be working with her. So Susan, all yours.
Okay, well, thanks, Jessica. That was a nice introduction. And welcome. I'm just really happy that everybody is joining us today. And so move on through this here. I've got a presentation. The agenda for today's meeting is we're going to go over the Board of Directors for 2022, review of 2021, our strategic plan update, goals and initiatives for 2022, and then a review of our 2022 meetings. Oops, went the wrong way. Camano Chamber of Commerce mission statement. Camano Island Chamber of Commerce promotes economic vitality, partnering with businesses and the community to grow our unique island culture. Camano Chamber of Commerce vision statement. The Camano Island Chamber of Commerce is the pulse of our community. By working together and embracing innovative ways to expand people's ideas, we will secure our future and build a better community for generations to work, live, and enjoy. Camano Chamber of Commerce guiding values: transparency, openness, and clarity. Preserve environment, trust, diversity, loyalty, open-minded, and we're fun too. And I'll introduce you to our 2002 Board of Directors. Myself, I'm the co-owner and office manager of Puget Sound Tree Care. Carrie Jones is our vice president. She's a real estate agent with North 48. Brandon Erickson is our treasurer. He's the owner of Camano Commons Marketplace. Sarah Gosnold is our secretary, financial services associate with Heritage Bank. And Mike Nestor, past president, real estate agent with Windermere. We have 15 active board members that bring a variety of talents to our board. And that's what I think makes us kind of a well-rounded board. We all have different things that we bring to the table and different ideas. And it's really helpful in just our plans for the future. So we've got Zach Offord. He's a board member with, he's the owner of Zach Northwest. Mona Campbell, director of marketing with Canopy Tours Northwest. New to the board this year is Brandon Carlisle. He is the manager of Elder Bay Grocery and Journey's End Cafe. Cherie Cross, she actually started, I think she joined the board mid-year last year, but she's still new to our board, and we're excited to have her. Customer service manager with Coastal Community Bank. Bonnie Eckley, executive director of the Camano Center. Tara Howard, she's the owner of Visual Photography. Jared Johnson, Edward Jones financial advisor. New this year to the board is Carol Mason. She's the owner of Movement Arts Yoga and Pilates. Also new to the board this year is Kat Olson, owner of Co-Host in Stanwood. And last but not least is our fire chief of Camano Island, Lavon Yangoen. So that's our board. And then most of you know, or I've met Jessica McCready. She's the pulse of our chamber. Jessica does an amazing job, and we're really fortunate to have her guidance, her innovative ideas, and her welcoming personality. Boy, the wind just came up. It's really blowing out there. Okay, chamber communication. Camano Chamber has a dedicated newsletter with format that's sent out twice a month on the second and fourth Thursday. Each Monday, a member is featured in the Member Monday on social platforms. And this is a member benefit. There's no charge for this. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Jessica keeps us pretty front and present on both those media platforms. Constant updates on our website, including the ability to post your events. Just email us the information. Or we have a chamber phone number. And if you have something you want to promote, please let us know. Please remember to add your email addresses to your contact list so we don't become filtered. We want you to communicate with us. That's important. We're here to help you, but you need to let us know what you need. We can easily share social posts and info. The review of last year's activities. As it says here, yet another year where so many events were canceled. But as you have seen what we've been able to do, the Camano Chamber came through, and we just came up with some ideas and some things, and we made sure that our members were being heard and also communicated with. We were able to have our monthly member meetings on Zoom. We had our summer mixers in person, which was really fantastic. See people without a mask on, be able to see the lower part of their face. The Great Northwest Glass Quest in February, that was a huge success for people that just needed to get out, and they were able to do it safely. Since we were unable to have our end of the summer barbecue, which is always a ton of fun, we wanted to let our members know that you were appreciated. So we did a member appreciation drive-through dinner, and that was great for us to be able to hand out meals to members and see you and just touch base. Business People of the Year was in October. We did that, and new this year was the Shop Local, Win Local. We also ran 4 versions of the very popular Camano Island map with your advertisements on the back. 10,000 copies were printed. We mailed holiday cards to all our members, which I think were really cute. Advertisements were placed on the state park sign. This was one of the most exciting things that we did. We were able to install 2 digital visitor kiosks inside IGA and the Camano Commons Marketplace. These interactive kiosks highlight things to do while visiting Camano, including your member profile. There's also a brochure stand that allows us to distribute materials. And if you have anything you'd like to place in the kiosk, just let us know. It's kind of on a rotating basis. And exciting that we are going to put 3 more in 2022. Locations are still to be determined. The Camano Chamber was proud to sponsor the following in 2021, $6,000 in total, which is, I think, pretty amazing. Soundwater Stewards University, Stanwood Camano Arts Festivals, Remax Community Chest, Warm Beach Auction, the Kids Fest at Camano Commons, Stanwood Camano Historic Sites Tour, Camano Center Gala, Camano Tree Lighting, Afternoon with Santa, and over $1,000 to local holiday gift and food drives. And if your business is planning an upcoming event that you would be interested in having us sponsor, just give us a call. This is what the sponsorship form looks like. It's also on our website. Continuing with the review of last year's activities, our SCAF scholarships. We awarded 2 $1,000 scholarships to high school seniors through SCAF. And I'm not sure if you know this or not, but $10 from every membership dues goes into our scholarship fund. And for your information, the 2022 scholarship cycle opens on February 1st. And here's a link to the SCAP website if you have seniors or seniors that needs scholarship money. And membership, thank you. We ended the year with a record membership of 153 chamber members. Right now we have 135. We may have one more. I think she just joined. So 136 members that have joined so far this year. And that's phenomenal for the first three weeks of the year. And thanks to Jessica for getting that information out. That's really appreciated. And thank you for joining. We'd love to reach our goal of 153 for a second year, and there is a link on our website to become a member or to renew your membership. And a little bit of review of our website. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, please do. It's informative and it's really easy to navigate. And I think it looks great too. I like how well our brand is. It's kind of there and everybody sort of recognizes it. This is the news and updates section, which includes a link to newsletters and other important information. Calendar functionality is open to any member. All you need to do is email your information or your Facebook link, and we will get it posted for you. And be sure to check your member listing just to make sure, how it looks, if you need to update any information or photos. I went in and looked at mine and thought, oh, this is terrible. So that's on my agenda to get done in the next couple of weeks. Well, maybe after Blast Quest, I might do that because I know Jessica's got her hands full. And coming in 2022, welcome to Camano Podcast. I think this is really exciting. Working in collaboration with Brandon Erickson, he's the host of the Camano Voice, and Windermere Real Estate, we're going to unveil a Welcome to Camano Island podcast series. It'll be focusing on information helpful to new Camano Island residents. Stay tuned. So update on our Camano Chamber 5-year strategic plan. The next several slides is our strategic plan that we have in place now, and the check marks on the side means that we have accomplished all these goals. We met once last spring and began the process of developing our new 5-year strategic plan, but because of COVID, we were have put it aside, but we're going to get back together again this spring and finish hammering it out. We had so many great ideas and incredible energy that came out of our first meeting. New ideas, events, and ways to continue to support not only our members, but our community. So our organization, we hire and develop professional staff to maintain financial stability, establish effective digital visitor information center, 4, develop and support and engage in active membership. 5, increase communications to our members and the community. Develop a board of directors succession plan, and then develop and implement a 5-year strategic plan in 2021 to 2025. All of those things have been accomplished. Oops. Partnerships. Provide educational opportunities for local businesses, support area youth focus on business education like FBLA at Stanwood High School, hold events to help businesses get to know each other and network, which is always fun. We all like to get together. Partner with the Stanwood Chamber to build tourism in our community. Develop relationships with Island County officials to promote Camano Island, and connect with other community organizations. Again, all those things are checked off of our list. And some of these things will go into our next strategic plan too, just to make sure that we are staying on task. Economic vitality, host and support area events, engage at the county and regional levels, facilitate partnerships between businesses, and investigate strategies for Camano Island branding. So I think that's a pretty I think that's a pretty good job that we've been able to accomplish in the last 5 years. We've had, a great board and, good members, and it's just exciting to see that we've been able to grow the way we have. To have a membership of over 150 people was pretty great. So next is, who are our partners and how do the chambers work together? The Camano and Stanwood Chamber of Commerce are two different chambers, although we do collaborate and work together. We have some joint meetings such as summer mixers, business people of the year, and our holiday mixer, which is always fun. And hopefully we'll be able to do that this year. Importantly, we have a strong partnership with Island County, and we communicate often with Island County Commissioner Janet St. Clair. I think we're fortunate that Janet lives locally on Camano Island and advocates for Camano Island businesses and for our community's needs. I just think it's really important. And Jessica also sits on, I think she's the secretary which meets monthly for the Island County Tourism Board, which is really nice because she gets over there to, well, I guess it's via Zoom, but it will eventually be back over on Whidbey Island. And it's nice to have a voice from Camano Island to let everybody know that we're still here. We're part of the Island County. So our upcoming member meetings and events that are scheduled, we've got the first about 5 or 6 months ready to go. The first one is Glass Quest, which I'm sure you are all seen on our Facebook post. It starts on February 18th through the 27th. And Jessica's been working on this for pretty much nonstop for the last about 6 weeks. In February, we have Local Labor Markets Pandemic Edition. I think that'll be interesting. And then in March, Stanwood Camano Past and Future. It'll be the FBLA students and the executive director for the Historical Society in Stanwood. That should be interesting. In April, local tourism plans, transformative destination travel, and Sherry Wyatt with Whidbey Camano Island Tourism will be speaking, as will Sarah Cho from Discover Stanwood Camano. And May will be free business resources. Learn about the variety of free resources available to your businesses from Snow Isle Libraries, as well as the EDC of Island County. And then we have our summer mixers, June through August, as opposed to having, just a dedicated meeting. Our meetings are where we get together and, have a glass of wine or a beer at a restaurant and get to visit with each other and get to know each other. It's a social thing. June will be combined with the Stanwood Chamber. We usually combine the chambers for at least one summer mixer. And then the fall schedule will be announced when we get closer to that date. So how can the Camano Island Chamber help you? Please let us know how we can help you. Any ideas or suggestions, we're here for you. I want to thank you for sitting through my little presentation here, and that's the end of it. And Jessica will be taking over from here. So thanks.
Thank you, Susan. Really appreciate going through all of that. I think that one of our goals is to be transparent and make sure that everybody knows what we're working on, what we've done. And always, please give us feedback. So as I'm going to hand it over to Janet in a minute to present about county initiatives, but as you, does anyone have any questions that popped up right now? Because one of the things I would really love to hear is, what do you need? What do you need the chamber to do more for your business? How can we support you? We're always willing to listen. I can't promise we can do absolutely everything, but we will sure try our best. So please give us feedback if you see things that are working, if you see things that aren't working. We really just want to hear that information. So does anyone have any questions that popped up right away? You can put them in the chat. You can unmute yourself.
Jessica, I just wanted to commend the chamber on all the work you've done during the pandemic. It's not an easy time for any business or nonprofit, and you guys have just rocked it. So well done.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And the clapping.
I would second that. And the drive-through dinner that you hosted, I participated in. That was just wonderful. You know, you had several people there, board members, you were there, Jessica, and I felt loved. And I had this delicious dinner to go home with and a beautiful flower. And I just thought that was a really creative way to, you know, still reach out to members and in gratitude during the difficult time. So nice job.
Thank you. And my dog, sorry. Thank you. And that dinner was really fun. That's one of those things that we had such great response from, that we hope that maybe we can continue doing those kind of things, because we want to make sure you all know how much we appreciate you. So the dog is still barking. So I am going to introduce Janet St. Clair, our county commissioner. Pleased to have you. So I'm going to mute myself and hand it over to Janet so you don't hear my dog.
I'm sorry, Jessica. I love the dog in the background. I just, if I was at home, I could show you my Glass Quest calls. How do I get this to come into focus? This is my Glass Quest poster. I'm excited to be here today. Thank you for having me. I want to echo the extraordinary partnership that we've had as a county with Camano Chamber and with different members. And then I saw in the chat the need to really give a big shout out to Myra Reinhardt. The PPP loans that were processed, paycheck something prevention. We get lost in our acronyms. Myra, you can help me out. But those loans were so important in the economic stability of so many organizations and businesses. And Myra did a yeoman's job, long days, long hours. Thank you for your support to our community, Myra. I agree with the shout out on that one. I kind of have a sort of mini state of the county. I texted Jessica saying I wasn't prepared yesterday. It's been a very, very busy week. And then I decided to start writing notes and get prepared last night, and found that it was an extraordinary year last year, probably extraordinary 2 years, and we're likely to be looking ahead to more events. So if you'll pardon me, I'm actually going to do something I don't usually do, which is I'm going to read to make sure I don't miss anything, a little bit of what happened in 2021 and where we're going. The comments are really focused, unfortunately, strongly on COVID because of its impact on our community and our small businesses, and of course on our local economy and what we've been working on as a county to support local businesses and local economies. I'll take any questions at the end on anything you want to ask me about. If I don't know, I will find out and get back to you. So COVID frames so much of the world and the work that I've been doing for the last too long. As chair of the Board of Health in 2021, I was able to lead the county through those tumultuous times that were precipitated by this pandemic. And this week I was unanimously reelected to that position for another year, which felt like a little bit of a, did I ask for this gift? But Commissioner Johnson made some very generous comments that we're still moving through this pandemic. We still have many risks before us, and it's important to keep steady and consistent leadership as we go forward. Our new health officer has been a real jewel in our helping us to respond to things. So moving on, well, in 2020, Island County was one of the first counties in Western Washington to move into phase 3 in those reopening plans of the past. Further surges really forced the state to require significant restrictions, and many of you experienced those restrictions. 2020 sort of began with this surge of hope for many of us. We finally saw a possible end to this plague of a pandemic with the beginning of vaccine delivery in our community. News of the vaccines gave us hope that we could soon begin easing the restrictions that were put in place by the governor. Unfortunately, vaccine supply was insufficient and the demand was extraordinary. Working closely with our federal elected officials, we were strong advocates to get sufficient supply to continue vaccinations on Whidbey and to open up our partnership with Camano Fire and Rescue and Camano Center and Camano Health Systems. Again, big shout out to those partners. We met with Representative Larson, and he sent an appeal directly to the White House, which was successful in increasing inventory in our region. During the pandemic, the commissioners kept a strong focus on our small businesses, both through the 2020 CARES grants we delivered in partnership with the Camano Chamber of Commerce. Again, big thank you for that partnership. And in keeping a constant eye on keeping our COVID rates low and our residents safe, because that's how we keep businesses open. Unemployment in early 2021 was at an all-time high in Island County at 7.2%. That would qualify us as a distressed county nationally. I spent many phone calls with our ESD at Economic Securities Department advocating for residents in our county who were struggling with that unemployment bureaucracy. We were finally able to get many folks, including some of our local employees who are part of our folks with disability programs. And that was important to me to make sure we get them back employed and back moving forward. On February 15th last year, Island County restaurants were finally able to open for indoor dining. And for me, that felt like a crack in the wall, that we could finally go out and have a dinner out and not sit under these freezing tiny little heaters while we had our beer at Tapped or whatever it was. It was midwinter and we finally were able to go in for indoor dining. By April, our case rates began to fall significantly and our vaccination rates exceeded that in the state initially. That says a lot about our partners again. I also want to note, well, I wanted to say a thank you, which I did to Camano Center, Camano Fire and Rescue, for their partnership to getting vaccines to Camano. I was very concerned at first when I saw Would-Be Health as the key provider. I saw Island Drug of making sure we had vaccine delivery on Camano Island. And it was that partnership and their willingness to be just true hand-in-hand partners with our public health that got us the same access to vaccines that we were seeing in other parts of the county. I also want to thank our staff in setting up mobile vaccine clinics. And many of you don't know that we provided a large number of at-home vaccine delivery. We have many people who are homebound, whether they're elderly or disabled, and we were able to deploy a lot of folks to deliver vaccine in people's homes. Rates continued to fall, and I felt like we became increasingly hopeful as weather improved and our spirits, at least mine, began to revive. I felt much more hopeful about what was the state of our communities. But it's important to note that while we were managing COVID response, Island County didn't focus on just that one thing. In December 2020, we opened the new Camano Administration Building. How many of you have been in here yet? Yay. And we began to deliver more integrated services. And I think why I asked the question of being in here is this: you come in, what was intentional was that our counters are set up so that you could go from one counter to the next to make sure that you get sort of an integrated approach to services versus having to go over to this and in this little building. And as Jack Archibald called it, our goat sheds over here in the old buildings. It was nice to be able to have a place where the customers felt like they were getting the same quality of service that they got on the other island. And our employees had that same sense of working in a healthy, open space where they have a place to do meetings. I worked really hard in our budget to make sure that we increased funding to this building, adding additional staffing so that our hours now on Camano are equal to the hours on Whidbey Island for the first time in years, if not ever. So we now are open the same hours. We're open during the lunch hour. It was appalling to me that working people could not come in on their lunch hour and get services in the past. And now we're open on our lunch hour. We're open all the way till 4:30 in the afternoon and not closing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon as we did in the past. So that was important to me. We've hired a new planning director, and we worked real hard to bring a lot of our services online, including our permit applications. That may be important to some of you as you look at our ability to deliver services to those who are trying to do business permitting, home building, all of that. The board had a sort of values conversation early in our budgeting process. And one thing we were absolutely aligned on, and this is back to when Commissioner Price Johnson is really, we need to focus on customer service. Government is this mystical bureaucracy, and we don't always have public trust. And I've said before that the one thing the pandemic should have taught all of us in government is the importance of treasuring that public trust and building public trust in government. So with a focus on customer service, we're trying to help create a system that it's not a black box as people come in and try to get services here. As many of you may have heard, I've been working hard on expanding and enhancing broadband in Island County. It's been a bit of a good news, bad news conversation in some ways for me, but I convened the first broadband action team in Island County. We completed our broadband feasibility study, which that was necessary to set the stage for us to begin to implement our broadband action plan and pursue large grants. In December 2020, in partnership with Ziply, Camano Fire, and our Snow Isle libraries, we submitted for a federal grant, USDA federal grant, that would have built out increased fiber infrastructure across the North End, along hooking up our fire stations. Snow Isle would have received computers. It was a large community development grant that would have hopefully provided more. Unfortunately, in November 2021, we found out we did not receive that grant. These grants are fairly competitive. I immediately met with the head of broadband at USDA, and he walked us through very generously a long meeting on what we can do next time when we apply to be more successful. Meanwhile, we applied in Central Whidbey for another grant, a Public Works Trust grant, and got $4 million in partnership with Port of Coupeville to expand broadband in Central Whidbey. They were a black hole of broadband, so that's exciting to us. Just as an aside, a lot of the new legislation that opened up broadband access to funding and retail authority to ports, local government, cities, et cetera, it puts us at an advantage now in Island County because we have the Port of Coupeville. It doesn't put us at an advantage on Camano because we don't have a large enough port district here to pursue those grants. So we continue to work with both. I have a meeting this week with WAVE and Ziply to see how Island County government can continue to pursue those grants, but it would be, I think all of us would say that you don't want government running your broadband system. So we don't want to be a provider of broadband. We want that to stay with the experts in the field, but we do need to build those relationships to access that funding so we can get grants and services and expansion in the county. Another important initiative that I think is directly related to small business success is the issue of childcare. I brought to the attention of our public health staff, and we received a grant from the Department of Commerce to do a childcare study. I don't know if any of you have seen that. Happy to share it with you. It was no surprise the lack of childcare we have in our community. So that helped us to set up also a task force working on that, including a Camano Island childcare owner who is on that task force. And we set aside and prioritized in our American Rescue Plan funding dollars to go to help those childcare centers because they've got to reopen, but they can't reopen and have 100% enrollment. So they need some ramp up time. Well, thank you, Jessica. I'm glad you're focusing on the important things in life. What we're able to do was provide funding to 2 childcare centers on Camano, one which will have 80 slots and another, I think 20 some slots. So that's going to be an additional boon for our working families here. The other issue that affects our businesses is the issue of workforce housing. That has been front and center in many people's minds and has been a barrier to all of us in hiring employees. I know Island County, we have had some really good applicants who can't afford to live here and they end up going to other counties. We set aside another $9.3 million of our American Rescue Plan dollars to go to affordable housing. And we're working to hire a housing development specialist to help. I'm a strong advocate that we get a plan and we get strong metrics in place and begin to deliver that money to build housing. It's important that it is applied equitably across the county. I just received a letter, and I love my partners at Oak Harbor, but they're like, we have the highest need, put all the housing here. And I'm like, well, you have need, we all have need. Let's make sure we get this equitably distributed. There is also, you may have heard this week, there was a public hearing on a sales tax, a 1/10 of 1% sales tax being considered for affordable housing. I'll be fairly open that I am not against the sales tax, but I was concerned that the process was being quite rushed and wanted to step back. We had a town hall on this. I had a town hall on this, I believe last Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago. I don't know, I'm losing track of time. And our housing and social services staff did a really well done presentation. But it's important when we talk about sales tax, especially when we're talking about a sales tax that the voters could have the ability to vote on, that we have an open and transparent process. That public hearing has been held open now until April to allow both planning and to allow for public input to continue. So we will be voting on that, I believe, March 22nd. Let's see. To finish out the year, our optimism on COVID recovery was a bit short-lived. As the Delta variant emerged and then Omicron, we saw our rates rise considerably. And I think they're underreported. We were close to 1,000 cases in Island County last week. That said, at our Board of Health meeting this week, our health officer said that the data indicates that we appear to be at the peak of the Omicron outbreak, and we can begin to expect our rates to fall. So that's good news for all of us. Vaccines helped mitigate the impact of Omicron, and those who were vaccinated appear to be less ill and were less likely to be hospitalized. Omicron impacted our workforce, though, and I don't know how many of you in your small businesses have seen the need to double down on jobs because you've had people test positive and you have people out while they go into quarantine or recover. That's been a huge impact on our workforces. So I'm trying to be optimistic, but I have to tell you, I was pretty weary at the end of last year about wanting to move forward. I feel more optimistic now listening to our health officer, but I want to make sure that as we move forward and we see our community recover from Omicron, that we keep our focus on our small businesses as you guys recover as well, because all of this has had a tremendous impact. 2022 is a new year with new expectations and opportunities. My priorities continue to be broadband. That's a multi-year effort. There's no way we're going to double down. We've got some spring grants that we're applying for. As I said, I meet with Ziply and Wave. I've got a meeting with Wave this week. Our broadband action team includes all 4 of our providers, Wave, Comcast, Wibitel, and Ziply. And so we'll be doing a couple of Camano grants, I hope this spring. We've met already a few times to begin to scope what those will look like. I've begun looking at the importance, because of both flooding and the need to protect sort of the rural nature of our communities. How do we look at the forest practices issues, and how do we partner better with the state to make sure we're doing sustainable development in our communities? That's a very complex problem that it interacts with, or is it very intertwined with our state DNR, and so it's a complex to navigate. We are looking at behavioral health. I have a meeting coming up with Nate Naring and the Stanwood Senior Center on how we can enhance and perhaps look at citing some more behavioral health services here in the Stanwood Camano community, and continued work on just COVID response and just stabilizing our work. I'm going to just open it up for questions at that point. I've talked a lot and covered a lot of landscape. One other piece that we're updating is conservation futures to make sure that we're doing the best job with those dollars as we can. We made a significant investment in protecting a couple hundred acres here on Camano for the future generations. And that's sort of how I think about this. What do we do today to protect future generations and to protect this place we call home, so that our children and our grandchildren will not be living in a, no offense to Sammamish, a Sammamish plateau, but be able to still enjoy the beauties of this island. So I'll stop there and take questions.
Thank you, Janet. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
Janet, I have a question. Sorry, my video is off. I have puppy issues here in the background. There is a community collaborative that I think many people aren't aware of. I see some faces on the cameras here that are. And it's both San Juan and Camano Island, and it's a group of nonprofits and one for-profit company that get together to solve the larger problems in the community that you have talked about, like childcare, housing. Yep. And I don't know that you have the capacity to personally participate, but I wanted to make sure to invite a representative that could kind of be the conduit of information going back and forth, because it sounds like there's lots of things in the works that maybe that group could tag onto.
You know, Myra, thank you for that. It was funny. I was reading, I was tracking Making Life Work from when I'm no longer on the board of the San Juan Camino Community Resource Center. We've increased our funding to them so much that I felt like I had a bit of a conflict of interest and so stepped down. But I tracked Making Life Work from its beginning when I was on that board. And I just was reading an email the other day and thinking exactly that. My capacity seems to be elastic or extraordinarily concretized. I'm not sure on any given day, but I am interested in how it can address particularly the issue of housing. SCAF had led part of out of that. SCAF has been leading a conversation on housing as well, and so there's these little Venn diagram of intersections of how we can work together on these issues. So I'm happy to be involved as depending on when they meet, and you know, as I'm not sure what I offer, but happy to be there.
All right, anybody else? Sorry, in the chat, Mary Beth Crandall said any affordable housing development should include access to our fare free public transit.
Access to affordable housing, one of the categories for citing housing is almost always putting it within proximity to our transit systems. I've also had conversation. I sit on the board of Island Transit, so I've got a little bit of insider on this, but I've talked with our executive director, Todd Morrow, about if we were to cite a housing, you know, on Camano, they're likely to be small. We're not. At one point, I saw a plan that said we were going to do 1750 unit apartment buildings. And I thought that would be great if I still lived in King County, but I'm not so sure where we would put 50 unit apartment buildings on Camano. So I see a series of small projects. And I did ask Todd, if we do that, can we consider transit stops there? And he said, absolutely. I encourage you, just to, as an aside, Island Transit is doing a service survey, yes. And there's paper copies, which I'm going to be dropping off at Camano Center today. There's stuff here where you can go to get the QR code here, meaning my office, Camano, out on the bulletin board. But please participate in that survey. It is really what we are using to do our strategic planning for future needs, whether it's Sunday service, increased on demand, kind of Uber light service. You know, what do you see as the need for transit in our community? And I would encourage you to do those surveys.
Okay, any other questions for Janet? If they pop up, just let us know. And since my dog isn't barking now, I just could give Janet a better intro. But I do want to just say that as the executive director of the chamber, it has been really, really important to have Janet on the island throughout all of COVID, and just that person who understands our community as we're dealing with this. We have a really strong relationship. She may not love that I have her cell phone and she has mine, but she's just kind of a finger, text away whenever I have questions. It makes me feel incredibly connected to Whidbey, and it's some of the bright things that have come out of COVID. Sharon Sappington's on the call. We've been having weekly or turned to bi-weekly meetings with EDC throughout all of this. So we really have developed stronger relationships across Island County since COVID started, and those relationships have just strengthened. And I feel like we're all working really well together. So thank you, Janet.
I'll put my email in the chat because if there's something that somebody wants to ask about, feel free to just send me a quick email and I'm happy to get back to you.
Okay. So I have a couple chamber announcements to make. If anyone has any needs or any announcements, if you could just put it in the chat, and then I will, you can unmute yourself if you have anything you want the business community to know about. But I did send out the last newsletter. There was a call for judges for the FBLA students, that they're looking for volunteer judges. So take a look in that newsletter. George Colby is the contact at the high school. It would be great if some local business owners could help out these students that are, you know, learning business and trying to grow. So if you want to do that, take a look in the next newsletter. I wanted to touch on one of our meetings that are, it's not going to be until April, I think, the tourism chamber meeting, but Whidbey Camano Island Tourism is undergoing a lot of training. I'm actually going to sit on that steering committee for transformative destination travel. And it's pretty exciting what's happening. And I feel like we're kind of on the forefront of a lot of this movement in terms of what does tourism look like right now and how do we do it in a sustainable way. So because the chamber also wears the hat of tourism, it's pretty neat to see. And I don't know if any of you have looked at like what Hawaii is doing right now. They want to encourage tourism and travel, but do it in a way that is respecting our community, respecting our environment, so that the parks don't get super overcrowded. And how do we handle, you know, tourism in the summer if there's wildfires, for instance, which is very real in our world. So that's something that's going to take a while, and they're going to do it carefully and thoughtfully and strategically, but it's something that we're involved with in the chamber. So stay tuned, because that April meeting, we should have a lot of the groundwork done. But I just wanted everyone to know that this is something we're working on for Camano. We are not just saying, you know, everyone come to Camano without thinking through what that looks like to everyone who lives here, including our business community. So, yep, WTA was about international travelers. Yeah, that was from Mona, sorry, talking about WTA. The travel industry is changing with everything, right? Everybody's trying to pivot. But there's a lot of changes that are really good, I think, as well. The last thing is GlassQuest. Did you know GlassQuest is coming up? Because if you didn't know GlassQuest is coming up, it's coming up. This is the rack card. I just ordered more because we are going through rack cards like crazy. Something bizarre is going on with materials you hand out. So I've got more of these coming. And this is the big poster. So if you have not received a poster, let me know. This beautiful photo is done by Tara Howard with visual photography, she's on our board, and she does beautiful work. So we're appreciative of that. You may see Asia Gray coming around delivering some posters and rack cards for you. For those of you who don't know Asia, she was the executive director for the Camano Chamber, and I worked with her for years. So we're excited to have Asia come back just for a couple hours a week to help us with the chamber. For those of you who don't know me really well, my parents used to call me Do It Myself. That was my nickname, and still is my nickname, because I tend to just try to take everything on. So the fact that Asia is here to help, I won't have to do it myself all the time. So when you see her, give her a warm welcome back into the community. Any other questions? Any announcements? Does anyone have any announcements that they want to make? Linda put in the chat, with the recent tsunami advisory and Camano getting on the map for that, are there any efforts to, oops, it keeps changing. Are there any efforts to educate visitors about king tides, etc. by the chamber? That is a good point. That is not something I had thought about. I know that there are the advisories that you can sign up for, but that's something that, yes, as people are visiting beaches and may not be aware of what that looks like when the high tides come in. I'll put that down.
You want me to respond a little bit to what happened? We had that same concern during the tsunami alert. And so we sent our sheriffs out to all of our beaches. Residents may be on, it was an advisory and not an alert. We didn't set off the sirens. But the sheriff's office and our Camano Fire and Rescue were going out to all of our beaches and doing direct outreach to get people off the beaches and out of the water. I was amazed when I was on the call with our DEM manager, and he was out pulling some folks off the beach who were about to go scuba diving just as the tsunami was coming. So not a good plan, not a really good plan. Happy to help you with that. And if you want to know how to put that into our little kiosks, happy to help you with that.
Okay, great, thank you. And the other thing that I think that we're experiencing here on Camano, any of you who are realtors on this call know that we have a lot of new people moving to Camano, and a lot of questions about, what's a septic? How do I live with a septic? And so that's where we came up with the Welcome to Camano podcast in collaboration with Windermere and Brandon with the Camano Voice, to have this series of podcasts that are really just informative about what is it like living on Camano? What does the school district look like? How does Stanwood and Camano work together? So that is a post-class quest project. We're already brainstorming topics, and hopefully they can just be podcasts that can live on our website, so that when new people come here, we can just send them to that resource as well. And maybe there's a podcast on, tsunamis and wildfires, or just emergency management. That could be something that may be helpful. Okay. Yep. Camano 101 is offered by WSU. So that's another good resource. Anything else?
Hi, Jessica, it's Edie.
Hi, Edie.
Hello. Well, for those of you I haven't met, I'm the new marketing manager with Land Title and Escrow. Really not new. I've been here for over a year, but rather new to Camano and kind of learning a lot about the landscape. So excited to network with all of you. But I had a big announcement. On February 5th, we're moving our Stanwood office to a new location. It's not far. It's actually right across the street. But I did post it in the chat for all of those that need reference where our new location will be. And then sometime this summer, we'll have a great grand opening and an open house and encourage everybody to come. But just wanted to give you a heads up that we are moving. So thank you.
Yes. Happy moving to you.
Thanks.
Any other announcements from anybody? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. It was great seeing you. Right now our meetings for February, I think just February is on Zoom. I've set up the Zoom meetings for eternity, but hopefully we'll be able to meet in person starting in March. We're just gonna have to play that one by ear, and but lovely seeing your faces. Have a great day.